Hey you, it's me, Nicole Phoenix Star, and this is the Nick Star podcast. So I've called this podcast It's Easier Than You Think, and it's in regard to your health. And I am running my wellness program again in a couple of weeks, and I have started having conversations with people around um, what it involves. And the thing that I keep saying is it's easier than you think. And it's fascinating the resistance people have at times. And it's also even more interesting when they do follow the formula exactly as I say. They are so surprised, and it takes a minute to adjust. Um, because at times it's almost too good to be true, which is hilarious, but still the resistance is there. And most people are really attached to how they feed themselves and the belief system they have around what they think their body likes and what they think their body needs and what they determine as healthy. And it's a really, really consistent thing. And I completely relate and I completely understand because I was exactly the same. And it took me a minute when I first started doing research and then eventually implementing all the things that I learnt. And it was fascinating because I couldn't find like a one-stop shop that was able to give me all the information in one place. And so I did spend a lot of different um areas of health to be able to bring it all together. And a lot of times people go, that's too much food. I can't eat that much. And because they're so used to restriction and don't realize that although they may be eating little and they may believe and they may be eating healthy, they're eating way too many calories and likely not enough nutrition, varied nutrition, a lot of, macronutrients that the body needs to be able to be supported, particularly in a health journey, a hormonal journey, an aging journey, and to also recognize that we're banking nutrients for our future, um, particularly for women as they transition from perimenopause to menopause to postmenopause. It's such a vital time. And to be, banking nutrients and focusing on your health for, things like Alzheimer's and bone health and just general longevity of organs as well as, strength and agility. And it's all in the food. Like it's all in the food. And food is the greatest medicine I've ever used consistently. And there's been so many health crises I've been through where very quickly food has been the medicine. And it's like so easy just to switch up a few different things and voila, you've got like a complete complex diet that is filling all the stores and more and giving you a level of energy that for me, my energy, I don't think I ever had this level of energy in my whole life. ever. And that's truly fascinating as a 52-year-old woman. It's very unusual. And I've spent almost 26 years as a mother, and there is so much exhaustion in that and so much limited sleep, particularly because I breastfed all my children, and just, it's a lot, especially when you are a single parent and you're the solo provider and you have to hustle often. It's exhausting. And before that, I used to think I ate healthy, but I didn't have enough variance. And a lot of time in my 20s, I was drinking alcohol, and that is very depleting and exhausting. So, I don't actually remember a time feeling this level of health, this level of vitality, this level of energy. So getting back to it's easier than you think. And, being able to eat higher quantity foods because you're eating low calorie foods, such as fruit, fresh food, and it's ridiculously easy. And like I say to every single person, do exactly what I say, follow it exactly, and you will lose weight if that's what you wish, because we will give you the exact amount of calories to eat for your height, weight, age, to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. If you want to maintain weight, you're going to put on weight, we get the exact number and we do that. And you don't need to exercise until you feel ready. And the reason to exercise is not to manage weight, but for health, for strength, for flexibility, for agility, for endurance. You exercise for that because weight management isn't possible just through exercise when you are over 40. Impossible. And I'm sure that every single person that is in that season will recognize that. And if you're not eating enough, that's just as bad as not. It's just as bad as eating too much, because your body recognizes that as stress and will put on weight if you aren't eating enough. So I love eating. I love food. I love eating lots of food. And I do. I eat a lot of food, and it's all insanely delicious. Like, I love every mouthful, every morsel, because it's delicious. And I can feel my body absorbing nutrients, and I never, ever, 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 ever am hungry. And therefore, my body is operating at its optimum, and I have so much fiber that I have no issues in moving it through my body, and it's easier than you think. The hardest thing is like breaking your brain and your conditioning and your belief systems, because they can be very fierce and people can be very, very attached to them. I've worked with lots of people that have had dietary requirements, whether they are vegan or full-blown animal eaters. It's applicable to everyone. And drinking enough water is, another thing. And it's not hard when you just get into the habit of it. And particularly by starting as soon as you wake up. You can get a liter down before you even start your day very easily. And I do that drinking yerba mate tea right now. I drink a liter as soon as I get up out of my beautiful teapot that holds 4 cups, and I just continue to pour it and drink it while I'm making everyone's breakfast, preparing Leo's school lunch, and anything else I'm doing. And by the time we're ready to go to the bus stop, it's drunk. And that's not straight water. It's highly drenched antioxidant tea that gives you a little zing. And it tastes like Mother Earth. And it is a morning ritual that feels like a ceremony every day. It's a new thing for me. I'm always in research mode. It's one of my most favorite things to do. Kind of is biohacking, but it's more research than anything. And it's not about trying to achieve like a particular body shape or type or anything. It's about health and well-being and strength, agility, my future self, and my continued happy hormone, lack of menopause symptoms experience. And life is so much sweeter when you're not got a baseline of survival and feeling like you have to endure the season because you're told to just get on with it. And every woman goes through this. I even put myself through a hormone replacement HRT research and journey because people asking me about it, and I didn't have any lived experience, and I always teach from lived experience. And I tried HRT patches, estrogen patches, for 6 weeks. And for me, it was horrible, which was a little bit surprising. It was a little bit confusing and completely unnecessary. I felt like I was betraying the intelligence of my body that I completely believe in. And it really knocked me for a 6 and was very uncomfortable. And I didn't feel like me. And as soon as I went off it and resumed back to my regular self, I felt fully aligned. And, I never bastardize modern medicine ever, because quite often it's a beautiful bridge and it's a very helpful bridge. And to get you to complete intimacy with your body and being able to work with the intelligence that your body is. It is perfect. It was created perfect. It was made perfect. Like our bodies are made perfect, and finding the sweet spot through nutrition is not difficult at all. And I have evidence of that by the bucket load with so many women that I've managed to transition out of medicine and pharmaceuticals slowly across the bridge, and with, their GP's guidance and support and astonishment quite often. I always get feedback from doctors saying, keep doing whatever you're doing because it's working. I'm like, yeah, I know. So, and there's been times in my life where modern medicine has literally saved my life. And it has a place and it has a purpose. And we are so fortunate to be in a time where we have such extraordinary technology and whatnot, but it is certainly overused and is treated as a survival mechanism as opposed to a bridge to the intimacy with the human body that is possible for every single person. So, yeah, I'm very well aware that I could work more refined on my body and become very sculptured and, toned and all of that stuff. But I have no desire to do that. And, it's very funny. Quite often I hear more than anything else these days is people go, oh my God, you're so skinny. And it's so funny and weird to me because, I always had this belief system that I came from big genes and, my German ancestry was like big bones and big people um and clearly there's genealogy involved, but I am in the exact kind of healthy range. I'm 5'8", 173 centimeters. I am 60 kilos and I have, I don't know, something like 6% body fat. It's crazy. I have this Hume Health thing that I stand on, and it does all these readings of my body, and it's always in the extremely low parameter for, fat and all this stuff, and muscle is always extremely high. It's hilarious. It makes me laugh so much, and I also have loose skin on every part of my body, even my face, because losing so much weight in perimenopause where your elastin and collagen and all of that is depleted to a point where you just don't bounce back. And, it's not obvious, but it's obvious to me. And I just accept that is where we're at. And, can't see it in clothes, but you can certainly see it when I'm in a bikini. And I don't ever look at it as a terrible thing. I see it as what it is. Like I'm 52 years old. Like it's fair enough. And it's just accepting of the self. And, I certainly wouldn't say no to a little menopause body makeover if I had the funds or a plastic surgeon reached out to me. Like, that'd be fun, but it's not something that I reject or am offended by or think is gross. It's very overwhelming when people call themselves gross. I find it very I want to say it makes me sad, but it just makes me want to embrace them and tell them how beautiful they are because no one is gross. It's such a weird word. Anyway, Yeah, so the main point I'm trying to say is like, I assure you, it's so much easier than you think. And it's so funny when people slip off the train and find themselves just, going back to other ways of eating from before. And, it can be a bit of an illusion for a couple of days. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, my joints are aching again. I've started having headaches again. I don't understand. I'm like, it's so fickle. Your body wants the sweet spot of the formula. And if you stray out of that, your symptoms come back and they're like, oh my God. I get back on the formula, they're like, it's all gone. I'm like, I know. So yeah, and I strayed from the formula last week because I had life take me there, and it was a wonderful stray, and I resumed back, and it was all intentional, and it was all perfect, and there was no regret, and there was no accidents or anything like that. Although I did start getting some headaches, which was funny. And again, it's just a little reminder that nutrient-dense food thrives in perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause bodies. And to fuel it with love and nutrients and, an abundance and not in restriction, it thrives and runs so beautifully. And having pizza occasionally is the pleasure bank and fun. But if you push it too far, your body will push back and go, I'm going to respond with a headache or a sore joint or something, and let you know that that was okay, but please feed me optimally again. So all the updates of the program are on my website if you're interested. I normally have a quick call to have a discussion around it being a fit. So you can have a look at www.nickstar.com, NIKSTARR. Blessings and blessings and much love. Mwah.